They said it was a warning shot. Problem was, it didn't miss. The planet next door was the warning shot. Now here's the thing about Terran warnings, and folks tend to learn this part a little too late. Terrans don't raise their voices, they don't posture, and they sure don't waste time repeating themselves. They say it once, real plain, and then they sit back and watch what you do with the information. After that, well, that part's on you. This whole mess started with the Karthic Dominion pushing their borders where they didn't belong. Nothing loud at first, just 6 months of quiet pressure. Patrol routes stretching a little further each week. Resource claims overlapping like it was all just a misunderstanding. The kind of slow, polite invasion that lets you pretend nobody's actually crossing a line. Trouble is, Terrans don't argue about lines. They let you step over them, same way you let a man keep talking when you already know he's about to say something stupid. By the time the Dominion fleet moved in 3 systems deep, there wasn't much left to misunderstand. Big formation, no attempt to hide it, just sliding into position like they'd already decided how this was going to go. That's when Terran Command finally spoke up. Single transmission, wide open channel, clear enough that even the lowest deckhand could hear it without needing it explained twice. Calm voice, steady as ever, saying, "This is Terran Command. You are operating outside agreed boundary limits. Withdraw immediately." No threats, no countdown, no dramatics. Just a statement laid down flat, like a fact nobody should have needed explained. Now, most species hear something like that and figure they're dealing with hesitation. They mistake quiet for weakness, like if it ain't loud, it ain't dangerous. The Dominion commander made that exact mistake. Took his time responding too. Let the message sit while his fleet kept drifting forward like he was doing everyone a favor by even acknowledging it. When he finally answered, it wasn't even an argument. Just a dismissal dressed up in official language. Said, "We are conducting lawful expansion operations. Your claim is unrecognized." Now you listen close to that, and you'll hear the problem. He didn't disagree. He just decided the rule didn't apply to him. That ain't negotiation. That's declaration. Terran Command went quiet after that. And that right there is the moment smart species start reconsidering their life choices. Because Terrans don't go silent when they're unsure. They go silent when they're finished talking. About 4 minutes passed, just enough time for the Dominion officers to convince themselves they'd pushed past a bluff. Then the second message came through, same voice, same tone, like nothing at all had changed. You are now in violation of Terran sovereign space. This is your final notice to withdraw. Still calm, still giving them a way out. And that's the part that always gets overlooked when folks tell this story later. There was still a clean exit, no losses, no embarrassment that couldn't be explained away. No reason this had to turn into anything more than a bad decision quietly corrected. But pride's a powerful thing, especially when it's sitting in the command chair. Instead of pulling back, the Dominion commander ordered a forward advance. Not fast or aggressive, just a slow push deeper into Terran space, deliberate enough to make a point. And that point was real simple. We heard you. We just don't care. And right there, that's when it stopped being a situation and started being a lesson. The Terrans didn't respond, didn't argue, didn't repeat themselves. They just moved on to the next step. The thing about Terrans is, when they say something's final, they ain't talking about negotiating terms. They're talking about the last chance you're ever going to get to avoid finding out what comes next. And the Dominion commander, sitting there nice and confident in his forward position, He'd already decided he wasn't interested in finding out the easy way, so he got the hard way. There wasn't any dramatic build-up to it either. No fleet movement, no weapons power spikes that screamed something big was coming. In fact, most of the Dominion ships didn't even register the Terran vessel that did it. Small signature, sitting quiet just outside the main formation like it wasn't part of the conversation at all. That's the part that always makes people uncomfortable later. The idea that the thing that changed everything was there the whole time, and nobody thought it was worth paying attention to. The Dominion sensors picked up the energy spike about half a second after the shot fired, which is just enough time for a trained officer to realize two things. First, that something important had just been missed, and second, that it was already too late to do anything about it. One of the junior officers actually said, "That's not a firing profile I recognize," which, in hindsight, might have been the most accurate statement made on that ship all day. One clean spike, tight and focused, not the kind of scattered surge you get from a panic shot. This was measured, deliberate, like somebody had already decided exactly what the outcome was going to be and was just going through the steps to make it official. Then the shot crossed open space. No flare, no bloom, no cinematic nonsense. Just a line of energy moving so fast, most of the fleet never actually saw it happen. It didn't hit the Dominion ships. Didn't even come close. It passed right by their formation like they weren't worth the effort. And then it struck the planet behind them. Uninhabited rock. No colonies, no strategic value, nothing anybody would have considered worth the ammunition. That's what confused them at first. For about half a second, there were officers on that command deck thinking maybe it was a miss. It wasn't. The impact point lit up just enough to mark the strike, and then for a moment, nothing happened. No explosion, no debris cloud, no immediate payoff. Just a quiet pause that stretched a little longer than it should have. And then the planet cracked. Not exploded, not shattered all at once like some kind of spectacle. It split, clean and violent, like the whole thing had been under pressure for 1 billion years, and somebody finally gave it permission to come apart. A fracture line tore across the surface, fast at first, then faster, until the entire sphere started pulling itself open from the inside out. Continents folded, lifted, and vanished into vacuum. The crust peeled back in sections so large they looked slow, right up until you realized each one was the size of a small moon breaking loose all at once. The core flared bright for just a second before destabilizing, and then gravity did what gravity does when you take away the thing holding it together. It unraveled. The whole process took less than 10 seconds. 10 seconds to turn a planet into a debris field that stretched halfway across the system. And the Dominion fleet sat right there in front of it, watching the aftermath expand toward them like a lesson they couldn't unlearn. Sensors overloaded trying to track fragments, gravitational readings spiking all over the place, navigation systems throwing errors faster than the crews could read them. Nobody fired back. Nobody moved. Because in that moment, every single person on those ships understood the same thing all at once. That hadn't been an attack. That had been a demonstration. The Terran ship that fired the shot powered back down like it had just completed a routine task, sitting there quiet again, signature dropping back into the noise like it had never done anything worth noticing. No follow-up strike, no aggressive movement, just stillness. Terrans don't waste ammunition. If they fire something that can crack a planet, it's because they decided that planet was part of the explanation. And then the transmission came through. Same voice, same tone. No change at all, like they were discussing weather patterns instead of planetary destruction. Your presence in Terran space is no longer under review. Withdraw immediately. That was it. No threats added. No escalation layered on top. Just the same instruction. Now backed by context. And that's when the Dominion commander finally understood what that first message had been. Not a warning. A courtesy. Now, panic don't always look like screaming and chaos. Not at first anyway. Sometimes it shows up quiet. You could see it on that Dominion command deck the moment the fragments started spreading across their sensor grid. Officers staring at readouts that didn't make sense. Hands hovering over controls they suddenly weren't sure would matter. Because when you just watched a planet come apart in under 10 seconds, you start reconsidering how useful your weapons really are. The first order that came down wasn't retaliation. It was confirmation. They reran the data, checked the trajectory, verified the source. Every system they had told them the same thing over and over, like it was trying to make sure they understood it proper. Single Terran vessel, single shot, total planetary failure. That's when the panic set in for real. Not loud, not dramatic, just a shift. You could feel it, like the whole command structure suddenly realized it had been built on an assumption that no longer held up. Because this wasn't a fleet engagement. This wasn't a fight you could win with numbers or positioning. This was something else entirely. The Dominion commander sat there for a long second, staring at the debris field expanding across his display, watching what used to be a planet turn into a hazard zone big enough to swallow his entire fleet. And for the first time since this whole thing started, he didn't have an answer. He had a choice. And this time, he understood it. The order went out faster than any command he'd given that day. All vessels, full retreat, immediate withdrawal from Terran space. No formation, no coordination beyond getting out alive. Ships broke position, engines spiking as they turned hard away from the expanding debris field and the quiet Terran presence behind it. Navigation systems screamed, trying to plot paths through the gravitational mess. Captains making split-second decisions just to avoid getting caught in the aftermath of a lesson they never meant to attend. Not a single shot was fired in return. Not one. Because there wasn't anybody left on that field who believed, even for a second, that firepower was the answer. The Terrans didn't pursue. Didn't press the advantage. Didn't need to. They just watched as the Dominion fleet pulled itself apart, trying to leave faster than it had arrived. Discipline gone, confidence gone, all of it replaced by one real clear understanding that nobody had to say out loud. They had crossed a line, and they had been shown exactly what that meant. The last transmission went out as the final Dominion ships cleared the boundary. Same voice, same calm tone, like this had all gone exactly the way it was supposed to. Terran space is now clear. That was it. No victory speech, no threats, no follow-up. Just a statement of fact. And for the next 20 years, nobody in that region tested that line again. Turns out, it wasn't a warning shot. It was a demonstration of restraint.
That's the story. Now, if you like getting these a little early, memberships are open. Appreciate you either way. If you want more like this, there's more on this channel. And if you feel like sticking around, hit subscribe. My Patreon site is SciFi. Signal A J Maraine. Ebooks by A J Maraine are also out there. All right. I'll see you on the next one.